Good morning, church family. It's so good to be with you this morning, even though it's virtual. Actually, though, this morning is going to be a virtual service, but it's going to be one of the most personable services we could possibly have. So every year, the last Sunday of the year since the church began 7 years ago, we've had the State of the Church address that we would end the year with. And what would happen was we'd hear from different people within the church. They'd share what's going on in their life, how the Lord has done whatever they have through the church, through in their life, through other means, and all these sorts of things. It's great, but this is 2020. And unfortunately, we haven't even seen half of you guys for months, and a lot of you are not able to be with us in person regularly. So what we want to do, we want to mix it up a little bit this year, and we want you guys to be able to reconnect with other people in the church. Hopefully a lot of you were able to send in videos for this service. But what this service is going to be, we're going to hear a little bit from some missionaries. We're going to hear a little bit from some people within the church. You're going to hear a sermon at the end as well. But this morning is going to be about the opportunity to reconnect with one another. So I hope you'll be able to see your smiling family and catch up with where they are. And then stick around, because at the end, I do have a challenge for us heading into 2021.
Good morning, Encounter family. This is Courtney Hahn, the Director of Children's Ministry and Women's Ministry for Encounter, and I miss you guys. I miss being able to give hugs at check-in and to see all of your faces and to have us all together again. But I am so pleased that we get to still connect through the virtual tools that have been provided for us, and for those of you that are still able to join us on a weekly basis in church. There are some exciting ways that God has worked over this last year. One can seem sort of surprising, but the Lord has grown our volunteer base quite significantly, as different ones of you have needed to quarantine or pull yourselves away from physically being at church for a season because of risk factors in your jobs or in your families. More and more people have stepped up to fill those places and allow us to continue to provide quality children's education on a Sunday morning. We had 5 volunteers come up and fill that first wave at the end of the summer. We have 2 new volunteers that are stepping up now, as well as our elders who are doing exactly what the Lord has asked them to do, shepherding our church well through service. Why is this exciting? It is always exciting when more people are obeying God and loving one another well and stepping up and serving Him. It also means that there will be more people in this building when COVID is all over who are equipped to serve. meaning that we will have lighter loads for our volunteer staff and room to grow our ministries like we've never had before. In addition, we've had new fellowship opportunities. We've started a children's ministry playdate on the first Sunday after church of every month, the first Sunday of every month, and more friendships have happened and are happening both with the kids and with our families because of those that have been able to join us for that playdate. The plan is that those will be a part of our church culture going forward. I want us to be able to connect as families, to have one another's phone numbers, and to making playdates for our kids and spending time having meals together as this COVID situation resolves itself in time and we are able to come back to church as normal. In addition, you have more resources than you have ever had coming out of our church. We have videos for the elementary going back to when we were all in quarantine. You can revisit all of those on our YouTube channel where you can learn about the Apostles' Creed. You have children's books being read by our volunteers on a weekly basis, and you can again revisit all of those videos and use them to encourage your children, to keep them feeling connected to the people here. And we hope that you will be using those and enjoying the information that's provided in them. Every week we have an opportunity to now hear the sermon taught through a children's ministry lens. That means that we are all hearing the same big truths as one family. And we are also recognizing the fact that big truth doesn't have to sound grown up or complicated. The Lord has so much to teach us, and there are ways that children can understand these messages, and we get to hear that every single week. It also reflects for all of you something that I have always gotten to know. There are so many times that I have sat in service listening to Stu's message and realized that it was paralleling the truth that was happening in children's ministry down below. That consistency, the way the Lord speaks with one voice and in unity through our pastoral staff, is such a blessing to me. And I'm so pleased that you get to experience a piece of that. Know you are loved, guys, and that when the time is right, there are beautiful opportunities for fellowship and connection and growth waiting for you here. We care about you, we see you, and we look forward to the day when we all get to be back together again.
A big part of the state of the church are our missions, both international and local. So we want to be able to hear how they're doing so that we can celebrate some good things that are happening in their lives and in their ministries. And we want to be able to celebrate with them and also to know how to pray for them well. So let's introduce our missionaries.
Hi, Encounter family. We're so happy to see you. We just want to get on here and say thank you and not leave without telling you how important you are to us. Encounter has blessed our lives so abundantly, from the teachings and examples of Stu and Lou. Our children's faith has grown in children's ministry, and our community group has just loved us, encouraged us, supported us. They've housed us so well, and God has just provided so many soul-nurturing relationships here through our church. And as excited as we are to go, we're also sad to say goodbye. But our prayer is that we will remain tightly woven together as a united body of believers, and we're just so excited to see how God works.
And because of all your support, we'll be able to head out. We should land in Indonesia, Lord willing, on January 7th, which is actually the first day of classes. And this is a miracle that nobody foresaw coming. So God is amazing. So thank you again for all your support. And it's because of you guys that things like this happen.
Yeah, so we have just a few prayer requests that you can be praying for us before we head out. All four of us need negative COVID tests 14 days before we go. So just pray that those are negative and that we remain healthy. Pray for good travels as we are traveling a bit north before we leave. And also just pray for our flights to Indonesia. We have a few connections, and with COVID going on, we just pray that that is a smooth transition. So thank you for your prayers and supports. We love you. Bye.
Hello, Encounter family. I must say it's been a blessing to be part of lots of the local missions here in the city of Evansville and with our church family, working with you side by side in multiple ministries. I love the giving heart of our church. It wasn't very long ago that I was at a meeting with a number of pastors, and we were presented with the potential of a new ministry in the city of Evansville called the Isaiah 117 House. It has now come to fruition. It is here in Evansville, and it is a privilege to be a part of it. The Isaiah 117 House is a safe place in Evansville where children who've been removed from their home out of concern for their well-being can find a safe place. Now, their time in the Isaiah 117 House is relatively short, less than 24 hours. Oh, but during that 24 hours, it allows the Department of Child Services to find the best foster care placement for these children. And it allows the children just to stop, take a deep breath, regather themselves, eat, sleep, play, laugh, just be children and be loved on by caring adults. This Isaiah 117 House is staffed by volunteers who just love on the kids for whatever time they have with them. Since July, there have been approximately 100 children who walked through the doors. Some have been as young as 6 days old, and some of them have been as old as 17. During those times, as they enter in, they'll receive multiple different things. As an example, the Isaiah 117 House has given out 800 pieces of clothing, 200 pairs of pajamas, 150 pairs of shoes, thousands and thousands of pairs of socks and underwear. The child will also receive a pillow, a blanket, sometimes toys, or whatever else they need to get them just a little bit settled. In many cases, children will be provided with a car seat because of their age. In some cases, food or whatever else the foster family who's going to receive them will be needing. One of the tragedies is that many of the children who enter the Isaiah 117 House have been victims of abuse and neglect of the absolute worst kind. They've been witnesses to heinous crimes as well. It's a difficult time, and it's a place where they can stop and receive blessings instead of difficult challenges. Children have come to the Isaiah 117 House in many cases without shoes, without coats, in some cases infested with lice or with filthy clothes or clothes that don't fit them. And they're cleansed, they're bathed, and they're given fresh clothing to get them on their journey. One of the amazing parts is that some of the other students who are there, children who are there, some of them will be honor students, some of them will be accomplished musicians, some of them will be athletes, some of them will be chess players, some of them are just simply children who are needing to be loved. This Isaiah 117 House, supported by a large number of people who attend Encounter Church, has been a blessing to the city of Evansville. And I would tell you, we need more volunteers. And if this touches your heart, let me know. We'd love to have you on board. We need volunteers. But thank you, Encounter Church, and thank you, Encounter volunteers, for opening your hearts and being part of this worthwhile ministry.
Good morning. Happy end of the year. It's been a different year for us at 1505, like everything else, but through your giving and your effort and all of your helps, we've actually managed to show the folks at 1505 a lot of love this year. We delivered over 1,000 home-cooked meals to them. We're delivering homemade pot pies for all the families for Christmas. We've provided Christmas gifts for all the families at 1505. And we've also worked with other organizations in the city to provide them with fruits, vegetables, milk, cheese, and meats. So we've not had a lot of hugs with them this year, but we've had a lot of time to show them that we love them, and that's what's important. Thank y'all.
Minglaba Encounter Mithazu, Tuyada Tapa Day. Encounter family, it is so good to be here with you guys today. I'm Amy Taylor, one of your global workers in Southeast Asia, and God has given me a vision to have the opportunity for every single person in the country of Myanmar to have the opportunity to hear and respond to the gospel. And we do that by meeting physical and spiritual needs and training disciples who make disciples who make disciples, so that every unreached people group in the world is reached. Now, the mission that God has given me is to focus very specifically on one country. So we have 52 unreached people groups, or 45 million people, that will now have the opportunity to engage in spiritual conversations with a follower of Jesus. So as we look back over 2020, I'll be the first one to say that this year has looked a lot different than I thought that it would. I stepped into 2020 thinking that it would be the year of clear vision. But God has been so faithful to that. I'll be honest, it's looked a lot different than I thought that it would, but this year has really propelled me forward in mobilizing prayer and perspectives in alignment with God's heart and God's vision for the world, and continuing to grow and prepare so that as He opens those doors to step onto the mission field, that I've done everything that I can do to be ready for that. When we look at our 2020 world, it looks like the world is down, but to be honest, God has been working in such great and mighty ways, in unexpected ways, and the world is now more spiritually open than it ever has been in history. So I don't know about you guys, but I am so excited to step into 2021 and see what God is doing in the world. I just wanted to share one story over this past week that has really deeply impacted my heart. I have a friend named M that I've been meeting with online and focusing on learning the Burmese language. And when I see M, I see a person that truly cares of investing in people. He is hungry for growth. He is searching and seeking. And you can just see a restlessness in his heart. But he loves people so well. And he's been meeting and very patiently and very graciously helping me learn the Burmese language. Last week I had the opportunity with a local Burmese church to sing a Christmas carol. It was something that was completely out of my comfort zone. I don't sing well in English, let alone in Burmese, but it was a beautiful opportunity to see God's faithfulness. And I took that song with me to my language lesson with him and asked him if he would help me translate and pronounce each of those words so that they were correct before the church. And he did that very faithfully for over an hour. We started really digging into the lyrics of this song. And as we did that, you could just see this deep and true, just kind of a before him. And he just had this most beautiful smile among him. And I asked him how he was. And he said, I feel more peace than I've ever felt in my entire life. And he said, after listening to this song, I feel peaceful. And so we talked about why he felt peaceful for that. And we engaged in a spiritual conversation. But that spiritual conversation didn't end there. Before we had met the next time, he had followed that YouTube link with the video, which led him to another video, which led him to another video, and he had watched all of the Christmas music that was available in Burmese. And he came back to that lesson and said, my roommates and I have been listening to this music because we just feel so peaceful. Is there more? And I said, yes, there's more. Let's talk about that. So we used the Jesus Storytelling Bible and opened across of a screen and engaged in this beautiful conversation. So I'm so excited for M to step into 2021 and to see his life be transformed as he learns that gospel truth, as he learns of his identity in Christ. This is the first time in his life that he's known a follower of Jesus. And I don't say that to make myself sound fancy. I say that because God is at work, and through your faithful partnership, you have been so committed and so dedicated to supporting me in this journey. His growth is in part to your partnership. Your prayers are being answered. God is at work, and he will continue to be at work in the lives of people like M. So as we look at that, kind of where we are in the status of the journey, I have great news. Myanmar's border is opening 1/1/21. So that is so exciting to say. I know the past few times that we've talked, we're preparing to go. We're preparing to go. When is it going to happen? And I've just had this beautiful image of puzzle pieces coming together as God prepares that pathway and prepares that openness. So if you're asking, what needs to happen? When are you going? What does this look like? We still have 2 significant needs before us to step into that overseas journey. That first step is we need people committed to extraordinary prayer. As you guys have been praying for M, as you've been praying for me in this support journey, we've seen God answer those prayers. Sometimes in the ways that we expected, sometimes in ways that we haven't, but always in accordance to his will. So we're looking for people that are committed to pray. If that's you, I'm going to share my email with you guys. I'm here at the end of the video. I would love for you to connect with me. I'd like to get those email updates out to you that have very specific and tangible ways that you can be praying for Myanmar and the work that God is doing in the country. The other significant need that we have is on a financial capacity. Praise God, I'm so excited to share with you guys. In 2020, God has released the finances and provided for 100% of the startup costs, or what it costs to start and launch this ministry in the country. And He's also very faithfully brought 74.9% of the monthly cost, or that ongoing cost. So as of today, we are just very close to our goal. There's just a need of $1,500 a month that would provide that clearance to fly and step into full-time ministry in the country of Myanmar, feet on the ground, investing in people like M and others that don't have access to the gospel just because of where they live. So when we look at that $1,500 a month, it really looks like a huge number. But broken down, that could very simply be 15 people that commit to the Lord $100 of the finances that He's entrusted them to shepherd on His behalf. That could also look like 30 people that have contributed at $50 a month. God's not looking at that number. What He's looking at is at the condition of the heart. And I've had some dear sisters, some college students and some friends that said, we really want to be a part of what God is doing. We want to partner in the gospel, but finances just aren't something that we have. And they have shepherded their prayer time on behalf of the unreached people of Myanmar. And they actually developed a program or a campaign called the Latte Club that I would personally like to invite each of you into. So we are a coffee culture. I'll admit I love sitting across the table with someone with a warm drink in my hand, whether it's tea or coffee, and hearing about their life and what God's doing, what they're excited about, and walking with them through any challenges that they're having. And so what that Latte Club looks like is contributing the cost of a coffee or a tea, whatever that would be, whether it would be once a week, twice a month, 4 times a month. Each person is different. But what that looks like, just to see what that is in real life, I've had the beautiful opportunity to see this played out. I was actually sitting in a coffee shop last week when I got to see it happen. So this is what it looks like. Hey Heather, I noticed you don't have a cup of coffee. Would you like to get something before we sit down? Well, actually, I wanted to share with you something really cool. I'm not having coffee today. I'm making disciples in Southeast Asia. You're doing what? I don't understand. Tell me more. Well, God provided an opportunity for me to partner with a global worker, and instead of buying a cup of coffee today, I'm donating that $5 that I would have spent on that coffee to support her cost of living and to support the ministry costs, so that every person in the country of Myanmar has the opportunity to hear and respond to the gospel. Oh, really? How do I be a part of that? Tell me more. Well, let's actually sit down and pray. I just got an email this week that shares how we can be praying for the people of Myanmar. I'd love to invite you to be a part of that. And this college student sat down with her friend, and I could hear them from across the coffee shop praying over those requests that I had sent out, and just petitioning to the Lord for the people of Myanmar to know and experience His love. And at the end of that meeting, she brought her friend over to me and said, divine appointment. God provided her. Why don't you meet her? I'd love to introduce her to her. And so now we've been engaging in conversations back and forth, talking about what unreached people groups are, talking about what God's heart is for the world. And there's just these beautiful relationships. And I think that's the thing that I've learned most in 2020, is that ministry and relationships go hand in hand. And as I go back and thank the Lord for all that He's done in 2020 and step forward in hope and of anticipation of what He's doing in 2021, I am so deeply thankful for the partnership with Encounter. Each and every single one of you are making a significant difference, not only in my heart, but you are impacting eternities of people whose feet are on the ground halfway around the world. So if you would like to hear more about what this looks like, if you'd like to sign up for email updates that will give you specific prayer requests, or if you'd like to donate financially with security in mind, feel free to reach out to me. It's actaylor1 at att.net. I would love to share more information with you and just talk more about what God's doing around the world. So God is working. He remains in the relentless pursuit of fulfilling His mission for every nation, tribe, and tongue to know and worship Him. I would love to invite you to be active in that mission and participate in the ways that He's doing. I'm not specifically asking you for dollars. I'm not specifically asking you for your prayer time, but I can't guarantee that God is not going to ask that of you. And I would love to consider partnering with you in making disciples among the lost. May the world never be the same as He completes the works He began. So good to see you guys. Blessings, Encounter family.
I'm excited to hear some of the stories that we'll be hearing as we get an update from the state of some of our families. Know that even though some of you have not been here for different reasons and for some challenges, know that you are deeply, deeply loved and know that you're prayed for. So let's see these videos.
Hello, Encounter Church. I'm Jessa Ward. You might remember me from a few years ago when I was a student at UE, and I'm back. So there's my life update for this year. I'm so excited to be back with my Encounter family and join back in amidst the craziness of 2020, and I look forward to what 2020 will bring.
Hey, it's Eric Hormuth.
And Jen Hormuth.
And this year, even though we've had a hard time being separated from our church family, Jen and I have really enjoyed getting to spend extra time with each other and our dog.
Woohoo! And we've learned a lot this year, especially taking time to slow down and spend quality time together, read some good books, do some puzzles, and just be.
All right, hi, my name is Chris Thomas, this is Abby Thomas, and this is little Emerson Crew Thomas here.
And one of the life updates we've had this year is that we had him in March, just when the pandemic began. So we're making it back to church as of today, and he is our biggest blessing of this year. So we wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Encounter family. My name is Kristen, and I this year started working for the church, and I actually just graduated college, so I'm really excited to start my new job here and move and be more a part of this church.
Hey, happy holidays from the LaRose.
We can't wait to see everybody and see you all in 21, so Merry Christmas from us.
Wishing you all the best. Hi, Encounter family. Merry Christmas from the May family. We miss you guys so much. We have been blessed with great health and jobs that have kept us busy this year. So we miss you guys. I have been working on a COVID unit for quite some time now, and Christopher got an amazing promotion at work that he's worked really hard for. So we're so happy about that. We realize just how much we miss our friends and family and fellowship with you guys, and we can't wait to get back in the church and celebrate with you soon. Merry Christmas, and we love you all. You guys say Merry Christmas?
Merry Christmas!
Hi, this is Dave and Becky Savage, and the biggest thing that's happened to us this year is that we had our first grandchild.
Yes, and after living with 4 boys for so many years, 1 husband, 3 sons, we've got a girl. Our granddaughter is 5 months old. And we're not traveling to Indianapolis to see her. One thing I've been doing during COVID is spending a lot of time at Isaiah 117.
We miss seeing all you folks and look forward to seeing you again when all this is over. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So I might have forgotten the video greeting that I was going to send, and so instead of my tree at home and my husband and my son, you get just me in my office with the tree I drew on my bulletin board saying Merry Christmas. My blessings this year include a new driver, a new place to live since I moved in with my new husband, and a new last name. So Merry Christmas from the Stern family to yours. Bye!
Merry Christmas, Encounter!
Hello, it's Belinda here. I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This season, the blessings I have received, I got to get closer with God and just get to know Him and just grow in Him, and just it's been such a beautiful blessing, and just another blessing just to be here with you guys. And I miss some of you that I haven't seen since COVID. I hope you're all doing well. So. May God bless you. Love you guys.
Hi, Encounter family. Well, this has been an interesting year. We've had some interesting highs and some interesting lows. We've spent a lot of time helping our parents, so it's been a really good time of caregiving and getting to enjoy them. Had great times with our grandkids and our kids. So I guess we just call that a blessing.
It's been a good time of learning to wait on the Lord and knowing that His timing is perfect. Joy comes from the Lord. This world sure doesn't bring it, but this world can't take it away either. So lean heavy into that in this season, and we'll see you again real soon. So.
And I also wanted to say I have been so blessed by our small group. We have the best small group. Our friends are just, we've all been there for one another, and it's been great.
Yep.
Yep.
So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas from
the Future Dottingers.
Merry Christmas from the Schultzes. We miss and are very thankful for our Encounter family.
Hello, Encounter Church, and Merry Christmas from the Rodriguez family. It's been a challenging year, but it's been a blessed year as well. One of the things that we've been able to really immerse ourselves in and be a part of is the Isaiah 117 ministry, which has just been something that the Lord has really brought into the city of Evansville to be able to make a difference like that in our community.
I'm also grateful for our community group and building relationships in there and just building friendships amongst our members of our church.
You know, one of the things that we're always grateful for is our family. We've been blessed with 6 wonderful grandchildren, Hudson and Holland and Bella and Theo and Alice and of course Simon as well. So we're blessed. We're blessed to be part of Encounter Church, and we just wish God's richest blessings on you in the coming new year. God bless you.
I'm Craig Jefferson, and I just want to give you a brief update about our son Grant. Grant, who is currently on Guam, is deployed right at the moment. It's been a real blessing to have talked to him in the last couple of weeks. We continue to ask for your prayers for him as he does the work of the nation fighting for our freedom. He really appreciates your prayers and any gifts that you send him, and we thank you for your prayers and for all that you have, all the blessings that you sent to him this year.
Hi, church family. We love and miss you.
Remember, Jesus is the reason for the season.
From Mr. and Mrs. Claus,
Known to some as the Bennetts,
we wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Hi, Encounter Church family. This is the Haas family without the children. They ditched us this evening. We just wanted to share God's faithfulness in this past year. I have been able to get a degree in teaching English as a foreign language, and God has given me a job to tutor students around the world. We are so blessed to be part of a small group this year that has become like family to us.
And you know, one of the things we've learned this year, I know I've learned, is just how to pray better, as this year has given all of us so many challenges. The Lord has just taught me my dependence on Him, and we're so thankful for you guys, and we're just so thankful for our Lord Jesus Christ.
And so from the Hormuths, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and God bless.
Merry Christmas from the Degenharts.
Merry Christmas.
You guys say Merry Christmas?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas from the Hallam family and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. May God bless you. I love you guys.
Merry Christmas from the Hallam family and a Happy New Year.
Wow, that was great. Thank you, church family, for taking the time to film those. I was really, really blessed. Now let's hear from Stu.
I want to invite you this morning to turn in your Bibles to Exodus chapter 16, verses 2 and 3. I know a lot of you are on your couches. You don't have your Bibles around. Go get them real quickly. I just have a couple quick verses for us. I'm going to read them for you. And perhaps later you can even look at some of the context. It says, the whole congregation of the sons of Israel grumbled against Moses, and they grumbled against Aaron in the wilderness. The sons of Israel said to them, would that we have died by the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, when we ate bread to the full, for you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. I mean, I was praying this morning on what I should teach on. I've been praying for months on how do we end 2020. And believe it or not, these are the verses that the Lord kept giving me. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going, wait, what? That makes no sense to me. Let me explain these verses a little bit. I'll reread them, but I want to give you the background. A lot of you are familiar with the book of Exodus, second book of the Bible. Basically what happens is God's chosen people, the nation of Israel, had been saved by going into Egypt to live amongst the kings, okay? And so they're living in Egypt nearby the Pharaoh. Well, years go by and God's family has grown quite a bit to around 2 million people. Okay, so at this point, there's new pharaohs. The original pharaoh that had promised to Joseph some things was gone. The people were getting huge, and so the Egyptians put the Israelites to work. And every year, in every pharaoh, the work got worse. In every year, in every pharaoh, the Israelites looked less like God's people and more like slaves. And so they're living in slavery in Egypt. Slavery is getting worse every year, and they finally remember we probably ought to cry out to God. So they began crying out to God, and it's the first time we've seen the nation cry out to God for a long time. They finally remembered He cares about them. He's compassionate. He actually wants the best for them. So after years, what happens is they cry out to Him, and God answers. And the way God answers is He sends this guy named Moses along. You remember the story, Exodus chapter 1, 2, 3. He calls Moses. Moses goes to the Pharaoh, let my people go. No, I'm not going to. Yes, you will. And we have this big 10 plagues, and we have plague after plague after plague where God sends a plague on Egypt. And Pharaoh says, relent, please, tell your God to relent, and I'll let you go. And he does it, and then they don't get let go, and we just have this mass chaos for a few chapters there, where there's plague after plague after plague, and broken promise after broken promise. And finally, they're released by the last miracle, the Passover. They're released from slavery. They're even given some great parting gifts and pots of gold and all these fun things. And so they leave Egypt as free people heading towards the promised land. Well, what ends up happening is Pharaoh recognizes that his slave labor is gone, regrets letting them go, and decides to send an army after them with chariots. And so there's 1 million, 2 million Israelites in the desert now at this point. Pharaoh and the armies coming after them. They're freaking out. They're at the Red Sea. They're trapped. God, you know the story, does another miracle yet again after they've seen miracle after miracle after miracle. The seas part, the Israelites cross to the other side, the Egyptians chase after them, and the sea collapses on them and they're saved. Okay, miracle. Literally the next day they start their walking and they start complaining. They're thirsty. So God does a miracle. And they went 3 days and they were really dealing with a lot of thirst issues. I get it, but God does another miracle. And then this is right after God provides water for them. The whole congregation of the sons of Israel grumbled against Moses yet again. And Aaron in the wilderness, the sons of Israel said, would that we have died by the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt when we sat by pots of meat, when we ate bread to the full, for you have brought us into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. And I can just picture it right now. God's people have seen miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. And they're still complaining. And what they're saying right here, I want to be honest about this because I think this really can relate to us today. They're saying we used to sit around the fire and all we did was eat meat. We had so much bread. All we did was sit around and do nothing. Did they really have all-you-can-eat buffets every day in Egypt? Were they really free in Egypt? Were they really getting full on bread? Did God really have the whole assembly brought into the wilderness so that He could kill them because they couldn't do it in Egypt? I want us to see a couple points this morning, and we're going to make this very quick. But one thing I want us to see is it's easy to romanticize the past when the present is challenging. It's easy to romanticize the past when the present is challenging. I hear so many times, and I find myself saying over and over in my mind, I can't wait to get past 2020. I can't wait to get back to normal, right? And I want us to see something because this concept, this thought process that we all go through, and let's be honest, we're all saying it, but this is a very dangerous thought process for us because when you romanticize the past, what we do is we normalize the past. We normalize something that was not meant to be made normal. It was not meant to be the gold standard. What we're saying when we say, I can't wait till we get back to normal, is we're saying everything was perfect in 2019. Furthermore, there's one more thing I want us to think about. When you romanticize the past and when you normalize the past, what we do is we stunt our growth into the future. And as I began thinking about even this message and thinking about these verses and thinking about us, our congregation, the world around us in 2020, I just kind of have to ask myself, what if God wanted to use a rough experience to make us examine ourselves more deeply? What if God wanted to use a trial somehow to make you look within and to get honest with yourself about the direction that you're going in your life? What if God allowed you to wake up where you were? What if God used what was going on in you to spark you towards a brighter future? What if where you were needed to be awoken? What if where you were needed to be not normalized? What if 2020 was actually God's blessing upon us? What if normal isn't the goal? And what if God has greatness in store? So I'm thinking about this Egyptians, and I'm thinking about the Israelites, and I'm thinking about this romanticizing the past, romanticizing slavery. And I think that what I want us to recognize in our own lives is that romanticizing Egypt keeps us from arriving in the promised land. It keeps you from enjoying the Lord where you are, and it keeps you from enjoying the life you've been given where you currently are. So I heard it said a couple months ago, Kerry Newhoff was speaking at something, and he made this statement. He said, the pandemic is simply an accelerant for what is already happening. He's talking about how mudslides and wildfires and all these things are an accelerant to where it's already going. It just gets there quickly. And as I began examining that thought process, he was talking about how there's a lot of churches that were already dying and now they're just dead. He was talking about a lot of businesses that were not being run very well and they were going in a bad direction. And this pandemic has just accelerated it to where that's very bad anyway. But I'm looking culturally and I'm saying sin was destroying our culture in 2019, wasn't it? Sin was destroying many of your lives and many things in my life as well. When I looked around and saw how sin affected me and I get frustrated at this, sin was destroying our culture. It's destroying many lives in 2019. It's destroying many lives in 2020. And it will continue to destroy many lives in 2021. But this year, what it did is it exposed a lot of issues that our culture had. It sped up the process of us seeing the issues. And if you weren't taking care of yourself before the pandemic, it didn't magically get better. And it's not going to magically get better as soon as the pandemic is over. See, I want you to see that God's call for change was there last year. I want you to see that God's call for change is there today. And I want you to see that God's future for you is beautiful in 2021. What are you going to do with it? See, the gospel teaches, quite simply, that we are completely sinful, and the wages of our sin is death, separation from God, separation from the life that God intended for us. Our culture had issues. You had things in your life that were keeping you from abundant living. We have sin issues all around us. We have habits that need to be trimmed. And the wages of sin is death. And we've had that. The gospel teaches that that's what we experience regularly in our lives. The gospel also teaches you and I are completely loved, completely pursued by God. God has fabulous plans for us beyond what we can ask and beyond what we can imagine. And you had the Lord's love, blessing, and chasing and perseverance, and you had God chasing after you in love in 2019. You have God chasing after you in love in 2020. And God has a great plan and a great future for you in 2021. That same spirit that was working on you last year is working on you today and will continue to work on you in the future. So, going into this new year, I want to challenge us. Will you continue to choose to live a 2019 life that's blind to issues around you? Will you live a slugging in the mud, just kind of woe is me life of 2020? Or Will you embrace Jesus' lordship and say, God, I want to submit to you. I want to learn from you. I want to discipline myself that I can actually do what you called me to do, that I can experience the life that you've intended for me. What's it going to be? A blind 2019? A woe is me 2020? Or, God, I want to surrender my life to you in 2021. Because I believe that God wants more out of us, and I believe God wants more out of you. So and we have a final challenge for y'all this week. We're starting a new year, and actually less than a week. I want to ask you, will you begin the new year not by wanting to go back to the normal, not by going, woe is me, this year was awful, forget 2020, all these sorts of things. Will you recognize the fact that God was in 2020, and the same God that was calling you to make changes in 2019 is calling you today to make the changes so that you will experience Him more into the future? Next week, we're starting as a church a series called 21 Days of Prayer. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the time as a church to challenge you to get your spiritual disciplines in order. We're going to challenge you to pray every day. We're going to challenge you to spend time in the Word every day. And we're going to work on our habit building for the first 21 days of 2021. So 2021, 21 days of prayer. It takes 21 days to establish a habit, and we're going to do that together as a church. Will you, as of New Year's Eve, will you start that New Year's Day disciplining yourself for prayer, disciplining yourself into the Word, and join us next week that we can help you to establish a new future, a better future, where you can embrace the Lord today and into the future, because I believe that God had great plans for 2020. And I believe that was meant to be an accelerant to help you have a great 2021. Join us next week, and you guys have a great rest of the day.